Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Jessica Nicole. I'm a self-published author of YA fantasy romance novels, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about book boyfriends slash book girlfriends. This is just like the romantic interest for your main character if you are including romance in your books. I write YA fantasy romance novels, so I include romance in all my books. I like to read mostly what I write, so I've sampled quite a bit of romances, all kinds, friends to lovers, enemies to lovers, marriage of convenience, proximity, forced proximity romances, just the whole nine. Second chance, all of it. And so I have a couple of examples here I want to show you guys and talk about, and just talk about what makes a good book boyfriend slash girlfriend for your main character. So what I'm going to start off with is what makes a bad one. So before we jump right into bad, I'm going to jump into a kind of, lukewarm type of explanation here. So this is Midnight in Everwood. It is by M.A. Kuzniar. It is a Nutcracker retelling. I liked this book for what it was. I liked, the romance isn't really central in this book, but she included it, or they included it, I don't know. And so I am going to talk about mainly the romance. So basically the plot of this follows, our main character as she is kind of put into this bad situation. Like, her dad's trying to force her to marry this guy who he doesn't really know anything about. She is telling her dad that this guy is not a good guy. He doesn't want to listen to her. She's a silly woman. What does she know? Because it's a historical romance. A historical fantasy book. And so basically, long story short, she finds herself in Everwood, which is like this enchanted wintry land. And there's lots of nods to the Nutcracker, both the story, the story, and the ballet. So she's a ballet dancer, and she's basically forced to dance for the king. He makes it sound like it's an offer, but as she continues down this road, she sees like she has no choice. And that's one thing that I'm gonna mention about this. Like, this author has repeatedly established three different relationships. Okay, the one with her forced suitor, the one with her dad, and the one with this king has established horrible like relationships between our main character and men. Yeah, just like horrible relationships with her and Marietta. I was looking for her name. Her name is Marietta. Between Marietta and Min. And so there's no reason for, I don't feel like there's a reason for romance to be here, because the story would have been fine without it. But there's no reason for the romance that is here to be the one that she's like, oh yeah, it changes my opinion on Min, because there was like zero buildup for these two characters. She falls for a character who kind of is antagonistic to her in the beginning, which to me, because of what she'd been through on these three other occasions, it would be like, red flag, stay away, because there are guys in this book that are nice to her, that are kind to her, but she goes for this guy who's like inexplicably goes for this guy who is like very antagonistic to her. So that would be my first caution. There needs to be a reason for them to be together in the plot. Like, there was no real reason for these two to be together. Both of their storylines would have existed just fine without each other, as proven by how this book ends. But there needs to be a reason for them to be together. Just, it needs to make sense for the story at the end of the day. My caution number 2 would be, like, there needs to be build up for these two characters. They can't just come together out of the blue, or your reader's going to be left a little bit confused. It felt very much out of the blue to me. There was no build up, and the moments we got with them were so inconsistent that you forgot about them from one to the other, because so many other things happened in between. that were kind of pointless to the plot as well. But yeah, so we need a reason for them to get to be together. We need build up. We need chemistry, and actual chemistry. Remember, like, this is made up. You're making this up. So actual chemistry comes with proximity, comes with moments. So they need to spend time together, or they need to be in each other's orbit for there to be chemistry. And it can be as simple as like a look between the two of them, or like a snarky comment back and forth, some banter. Maybe she does something for him, or he does something for her, and they, it makes them think a little bit about the character. It doesn't have to be like this big thing, cosmic thing, because that's not what chemistry is. It's just, moments. It's like giving us time with them. And that's what I felt like this didn't do. It didn't give us any chemistry with them. And yeah, like I said, this book would have been the same without the romance. And as proven by the ending of this book, where, I'm not going to spoil it, but I mean, the romance was not needed. And that's what you don't want your book to feel like, that the romance just wasn't needed, and that it didn't make sense for who the characters were. It didn't make sense for either of these two characters, and I could have done without it. And that's coming from a romance fanatic. Okay. My other example of what not to do is actually from one of my favorite books of that I've read, and it's The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I read the whole trilogy. I love the whole trilogy. But what I will say is, if I was Jude and Cardan treated me the way he treated Jude in book 1, there wouldn't have been a book 2. Because, like, I would have killed Cardan. Like, that was just a lot. And I understand enemies to lovers. I understand it. But in no fathomable universe would any girl, I don't think, like, go for a guy that treats her this way. Like, it's a little extreme. It's a little bit much. And I feel like that's another caution I would give you. Like, the romance needs to feel realistic. I know it's fiction, y'all, but, like, I don't know. I feel like even with fantasy, sci-fi, anything that's, like, super out of the realm of possibility, the things that make it feel real to us, the things that could happen in our world, they need to be realistic. So, like, romance happens every day. People fall in love every day. It needs to feel real. So that part of it should feel real. And this romance just didn't feel real to me because the history of it, like, I don't think, and it's not even history, like, it's happening presently, what is basically going on with them, and it just didn't feel like, I just didn't see it happening. But okay. I will say that I love these two characters. I love how they need each other, so that's one good thing that she did. She did force their proximity, she did force their interaction, and it developed chemistry between them. I liked they needed each other for the plot, which is, something was a critique with this one. The plot, they needed each other for the plot, and we got to see them together. We got to see their relationship build. It was just that rocky beginning. It would have been totally no. But yeah, I will say that I did grow to love Cardan throughout the series because of how she developed his character, and I do like that about the Cruel Prince trilogy, the Folk of the Air trilogy, because how the characters developed and how they both changed because of each other. More Cardan than Jude. Being with her changed him, and I think that was great for his character, great for the plot, and great for their romance. So now we're going to get on to my two examples here that I have of what to do. So in Cinderella is Dead, we have our main character, Sophia, who is basically in this oppressive, patriarchal, dystopian kingdom, where she's forced to basically marry against her will. The girls attend this ball thing, and they basically, if a man picks him, that's your husband now, and he can do whatever he wants to you. She's not having that, so she kind of like runs away, bucks tradition, which basically will get her killed if she's caught. Starts a whole revolution, and just the plot thickens from there. But she is in love with her best friend Erin at the beginning of this. And I love the way that Kaylin Byron basically handled that situation with their romance, that romance at the beginning. We got to see Sophia like wrestle with her feelings there and kind of come to terms with the difference between what she wanted to happen and what is actually placed in front of her. And we got to see her, you know, emotions from that and her grow and develop as a character. And so I do like that. I feel like the romance, like I said, with the Cruel Prince, it should change the characters. And this romance did change her. And then we meet Constance, who is the love interest in this book for Sophia. And I love the dichotomy of them. I love, I think you should do that anyway with your characters. None of the characters should feel like they're repeats of other characters, but especially with the romance, I love when there's dichotomy. So with a book boyfriend or a book girlfriend, in this case, there needs to be like a dichotomy between them and the main character. Holly Black does this really well in The Cruel Prince as well. These two kind of felt like they were the same person in here, but this one does it very well. Cinderella is Dead. They feel like polar opposites, but it works. I love that Constance is like kind of dashing in a way and witty. I love that in like a book romance where you've got, because your main character is going to kind of be like your straight character, you're like, you know, fish out of water by the book character, because we want to experience the story through them. And so it's like us entering the world for the first time. So we're experiencing the story through them. So they're kind of not plain and not boring, but they're like the normal, regular kind of character. And so we need like some either not really comic relief, but like, you know, levity with the romance. I feel like either they need to be super serious, which I like that as well. And I'm talking about that in the next example, or kind of more fun. And so even though Constance has like a really hard life, she's had a hard time, child, but you wouldn't know it from the way she is, and especially the way she is with Sophia. She's very like tender and sweet, and I love that as well. Like she's not like Carden just being despicable. But yeah, I like this. I liked the romance here. I liked how Sophia was understanding, how Constance was understanding with Sophia, like moving through the pain of a lost love and helping her through that. I liked the protective moments here, which something I love as well, and like a book boyfriend, a book girlfriend. And I don't know, I loved how this romance developed. It was a very slow burn, but it didn't feel like that. Like you could tell the attraction, and that's another thing. If you're gonna make it slow burn, I need to feel like both of these characters are into each other and it's not just one-sided, or else it feels a little weird. So she did a very good job with that. And yeah, I love this romance in this book. Like 10 out of 10 on the romance here. And my final example is For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. I've talked about this to death, so I'm not going to get into the plot. But basically, I loved how Red and Eamon, I always do that, because I called him Eamon the whole book, and then I looked up how to pronounce his name. But I loved how Red and Eamon, how they complement each other, like literally. Like I said, they need each other for the plot. They're literally an arranged marriage, so it's forced proximity. Even with all like the magical supernatural things going on in this book, like the romance feels super real and super grounded. This is a slow burn at its finest, like seriously. They kind of go from like being super annoyed by each other's presence to like I love yous by the end of the book. And this is the way to do a slow burn, because we could see like the attraction building, we could see like their protectiveness of each other building, and their need to take care of each other building throughout the whole book. It didn't just like come out of nowhere like it did with Midnight and Everwood. Like there was reason for it. It was explained, and it was just done so beautifully. I will say that I'm a sucker for like the intellectual, dark, brooding, library lurker type guy, and Eamon is that guy, and that's like my favorite. That's like my type. So I love that. Either that or like somebody really like dashing and funny and witty, like Constance is. But yeah, and I love that about him. I love how he is so protective of Red, and how he, you know, to a fault, and he's just tragic hero at its finest. And I love that trope. I love that guy. Like, give me a tragic hero in a fantasy romance any day, and I'm there. I'm sign me up. And Constance kind of has that trope too, which I just now realized. But yeah, I loved Eamon in this book. He's so great. Just perfect book boyfriend. He is my ideal book boyfriend. And yeah, he belongs with Red, but otherwise, you know, like in my head, he's mine. But yeah, those are my thoughts on book boyfriends slash girlfriends. Hopefully this gave you a little insight into, you know, writing romance in your story, or if nothing else, gave you some recommendations to read. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like this video, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.